Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, or just Multiverse of Madness as it's going to be referred to for the rest of this review, was directed by Sam Raimi, who has come back to directing after 9 years. The last movie he made was Oz the Great and Powerful in 2013. I saw that movie. It was okay. In this movie, I'm going to keep the plot synopsis to a minimum here. A lot of things have started going horribly wrong when it comes to the multiverse. There seems to be a lot of rifts happening and a lot of cataclysmic events as a result of it. And so Doctor Strange, along with some old and new allies, has to basically come in and try and stop all of those from happening. Sam Raimi is a director who needs absolutely no introduction. I mean, you guys know him as a really great master of horror. And that is something that's very important to note, because when you get to Multiverse of Madness, this is essentially Marvel's first horror movie. I remember a couple of weeks ago in episode 4 of Moon Knight, you had a scene which was involving this creature, and it was like, oh, this is some kind of a horror segue that they're trying to make. In this movie, they pretty much go full-blown horror in terms of PG-13 ratings. This is easily the most disturbing and violent Marvel movie to date. And it's a lot of fun to watch. It's not flawless though, and I know I'm jumping ahead of this because there's going to be a lot of opinions on this movie. This is now coming out in theaters this weekend, but there have already been a lot of critiques online, and you may have heard a lot of different things. Some of them may have said it's a great movie. Some of them may have said it's one of the best movies in the MCU. Some of them have said it's one of the worst or mid-tier. Some people are very disappointed. And I think this is one of those movies which is going to evoke such reactions throughout. In a lot of ways, this makes decisions that some folks are going to be fans of, some aren't, and I think that's fine. In a lot of ways, Multiverse of Madness also challenges what the MCU has been so far. It takes things in directions that are not expected. Some things will have people going very loudly, like cheering, and some people are going to be disappointed by it. It can be overwhelming and underwhelming at the exact same time, and I love it for almost exactly all of those reasons. Now, I'm not saying that this is a flawless movie by any means. I have my own issues with it, which I'm actually going to get out right away. I'm going to get my negatives out first. I've never really done this before. The first half of this movie can be a little choppy. There's a lot of stuff that's happening and a lot of setups that are happening, and it involves characters explaining certain things and new rules being set up for the multiverse and stuff like that. And all of that really hits you really quickly, and so it takes a while to fully kind of grasp what it is that they want to do, what it is that's going on when it comes to this movie's story. And eventually it finds its footing a little bit more, but it takes a while to get to that. And so it sometimes can feel like a lot of scenes happening which don't feel connected as of yet. This movie is very scattered and messy, especially that first half, like I said. And it's almost intentionally messy. Because the movie is called Multiverse of Madness, you're expecting a lot of things to happen that are just way out there and absolutely bonkers, balls to the wall, crazy ass shit. And you get a lot of that. This movie is not subtle when it comes to those things. And it does something with a few characters that I don't know if everyone's going to be a big fan of. I think there are certain decisions that they make that are going to be, I don't want to say controversial, but they're definitely going to result in some kind of discourse. I think some people will like where certain characters go. I think some people are going to really dislike it. And I'm curious to, once again, see what those conversations are going to be like. And I think it just sometimes does result in a movie that's trying to figure itself out. But that's essentially where my real negatives lie. When it comes to all the other stuff, whether it's the technicals, the acting, the direction, the score, this film is a marvel, no pun intended. This is one of the most vibrant, uniquely made Marvel movies. In fact, it is the most unique MCU movie in terms of just direction that has ever come out. It's got Sam Raimi's fingerprints all over it. Sometimes, yes, it can feel like a tug-of-war situation where it feels like Raimi wants to make one movie and Marvel wanted to make one movie. And sometimes in that process of trying to make a Marvel horror film and a connective tissue to other stuff that has been or is to come, it can get somewhat like twisted, like I want to make this, I want to make this. But overall, it still results in a very consistent movie that I really enjoyed. And Benedict Cumberbatch is once again terrific. He does a really great job in this movie. But the real star of this is Elizabeth Olsen. Now, she's already off an Emmy nod for WandaVision. That was a great performance over there. I honestly think she's better in this. This is a devastating, terrifying performance. She is absolutely brilliant here, and she steals every scene she's in. Every frame is one terrific set piece for her, and she does a really, really great job throughout the film. Xochitl Gomez, who plays America Chavez, I thought she was fantastic as well. She's gonna have a lot more to do in the future, I think, because sometimes over here she feels like she's sort of a plot device for something to happen, and that's okay, sure, but overall, I really liked her character. I'm excited to see where it goes, her arc as future installments come out in the franchise. And Benedict Wong, once again, is great as well. Wong, he's fantastic once again and just adds so much levity to the events that are happening in front of you. A lot of time is also given to Rachel McAdams in this movie, which is great because she was, I think, really wasted in the first movie. She's much more prominent in this film, and she has a lot more to do, and it was really great seeing her. I mean, I'm not gonna say no to Rachel McAdams. She's always really great. The direction, like I said, by Raimi. This has Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, whole trilogy. All of his tropes are in here, and it's so great to see. There's some creepy imagery in here that is definitely going to make some people flinch in their seats. I heard some people saying that their kids were kind of rattled, they had to leave, and I'm like, yeah, that checks out, because it feels like we're 1 minute away in some scenes from an R rating. So that was pretty exciting. I mentioned the score by Danny Elfman is excellent, and I really do mean that. This is no holds barred Elfman. He is firing at all cylinders here, and it's a fantastic score, one of the best in the MCU to date, and incredibly well used as well. There's a scene I'm not going to go into which uses it in a spectacular way, and it just has to be seen. It's just a beautiful use of music and what you're seeing on screen, all of those things coming together. It's nirvana, honestly, especially if you're a Sam Raimi fan. Like, that is the scene of the movie in a lot of ways. Actually, all of the action is phenomenal. The visual effects are outstanding. Dare I say they top the first movie in practically every way. They're some of the best visuals in the MCU. It's very vibrant and colorful, this movie. I saw it in IMAX, where you do get the full container 1.9 aspect ratio. I highly recommend checking it out in that format because you really need to see the full scope of this image. This is a big movie, meant for the theaters, of course, but you really have to see this thing absolutely pop on that screen, and it really does. I also saw it in IMAX 3D, which is a rarity. Like, that doesn't really happen, but I saw it like that, and I gotta say, this is one of the best handlings of IMAX 3D that I've seen in years. Like, they really made sure those effects popped off the screen as best as they could, and it was actually quite a blast. Like, some really great use of it here. Sometimes 3D is a problem for me because I can see a visual and I think it's supposed to be brighter, but then with the 3D glasses it sort of darkens the whole scene. I can safely say that that didn't happen over here. They used it very nicely, all the colors were popping, and yeah, definitely worth seeing in, like I said, that IMAX format. If you can do 3D, even better. I can't really go into more detail at the time, but I'm also still making up my mind on it. While I have all of those positives, I do have my negatives, and although I do have more positives than negatives, I still think the movie could have been a lot better, but I'm curious as to what's gonna happen down the line. Am I going to feel the same way about it? I'm excited to see it again so that I can have a better handling on it. But let me just say, when this movie is good, it is good. When it's not quite as good, you can notice it. But nonetheless, I appreciate the absolute massive swing this movie takes in terms of trying to do something very different with the MCU and essentially taking it in a very different direction, and a unique direction at that. I hope we see more like this. I don't want to see a lot of safe stuff from the MCU anymore. I don't want them to hold back. I want them to go even bolder with their ideas, even more crazy with their visuals, and I hope that this is the start of that. Eternals was somewhat of the start, but this one feels like the true start, the, like I said, culmination in many ways of that concept. So I'm really hoping that future installments take a page from this and start to get really, really bizarre. I'm gonna give Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness a 7.5 out of 10. That's my preliminary rating in a lot of ways because, like I said, I have to see it again, and then I'm gonna do the spoiler review, which should be a little more detailed, and I'll talk more about it. I don't agree with every decision. Like I said, some things worked for me, some things did not in terms of its story. There's one thing in particular that I disagree with in terms of the critics, but there are other things about it which I do agree with. So we'll talk more about that when we get to that. Guys, thank you very much for watching. What did you guys think of Multiverse of Madness? If you have seen it, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know. As always, if you like this, guys, please do subscribe. Thank you once again, and I'll see you guys at the movies.